Lore of the Old World, Forces of Fantasy, Chapter 1, Fantasy Realms. The world stands on the brink of annihilation. It has done so since the dawn of time, when the great civilization of the Old Ones was destroyed in a terrible cataclysm, and the world became flooded with the energy of chaos. While the forces of chaos and destruction gather in their benighted realms, hordes of orcs, goblins, beastmen and worse covet the wealth and comfort of civilization. Noble kings and queens raise great armies to defend their shining realms against the gathering dark. The Old World is a vast continent that lies between the endless expanse of the great ocean in the west and the peaks of the world-edge mountains in the east. It stretches from the frozen wilderness that lies beyond Kislev's most northern borders to the sun-parched coasts of Tilia and Estalia in the south. The Old World is home to men, dwarves, elves and more. Civilized folk that are both numerous and powerful dwell throughout the land, defended from the dangers that surround them by large, well-fortified cities. And they need to be, for the high mountains and deep forests that cover much of the continent are home to hordes of wild and uncivilized monsters. The most heavily populated realms of the Old World are those ruled by humanity, commonly referred to by the other races of the world as the realms of men. From frozen Kislev in the north to the sun-scorched lands of Estalia and Tilia in the distant south, the lands of men are vast. Of these realms the largest is known as the Empire. Though its many states and provinces have long been riven by internal strife and divided by civil war, the Empire remains the greatest realm of the Old World, stretching from the icy Sea of Claws in the north to the soaring Black Mountains in the south. To the west, the Grey Mountains form the Empire's border with its neighbour, the gleaming and noble kingdom of Britannia, while its eastern frontier is marked by the virtually impenetrable wall of the World's Edge Mountains, and to the north, the endless expanses of Kislev. The great mountain ranges that border the Old World both form protective barriers against dangerous foes, whilst harbouring others. These mountain ranges converge in the far south of the Empire in a high, soaring land known as the Vaults. Orcs and goblins, trolls and unspeakable horrors of chaos infest the great caverns and tunnels of these ranges, and their malign gaze is ever turned towards the Old World. The World's Edge Mountains are grimly forbidding peaks, tall beyond imagining, and seeming to scrape the sky with their immensity. In ancient times, the entirety of this vast mountain range was the domain of the dwarfs, who crafted huge cities and fortresses into the rock. Grand processional tunnels once linked the halls of their underground realm, stretching from the far north to the south and beyond the Old World itself. To the west, the Grey Mountains divide the Empire from Britannia. Like the World's Edge Mountains, there are dwarf settlements here, but these are fewer in number and far less wealthy than the mighty holds of the east. The Grey Mountains have an evil reputation with the folk of the south, their shadow-haunted crags the source of many a dark legend. The Black Mountains lie between the Grey Mountains and the World's Edge Mountains, dividing the Empire from the wild southern lands of the border princes, their skies wreathed in dark thunderheads as the towering crags climb towards the vaults. The Black Mountains are notoriously riddled with crude goblin tunnels, and the entire mountain range is infested with countless deadly creatures that often venture down into the Empire to feed. Gloomy tangled forests cover much of the Old World. The men of the Empire, Kislev and Britannia, and the dwarfs of the mountain holds fear what lurks within these forests, and with good reason, for the trees hide many foes, bandits, rampaging orcs and goblin tribes, warbands led by roaming champions of chaos, and endless war herds of mutated chaos beasts, all lurk within the arboreal gloom, ready to strike at the towns and cities of civilized folk. Yet despite the wild and forbidding nature of the Old World's forests, they give shelter to many scattered settlements, lonely pockets of civilization that cling precariously to life, their inhabitants defended by tall stockade walls and stout gates which are locked and barred every night against the nocturnal terrors of the forest. These settlements are linked to one another and to the world beyond the forest borders by roads and rivers, vital routes of communication and supply that must be kept open for travel and guarded from the ravages of the things that lurk beneath the forest canopy. From these settlements brave regiments are raised to patrol the forest roads and hunt the foul things that hide within the trees. When the creatures of these forests surge in numbers, these regiments muster together, forming mighty armies that march into the forest in search of battle. At such times the evil things that lurk within the woods are driven back into the depths of the forest, their courage broken and their numbers greatly thinned. Here in the shadowed glades and hidden clearings of the darkest forests hide ancient woodland realms, haunted by vengeful spirits, eager to prey on any unclean creature that would disrupt the tranquility of the forest's heart. The lands of the Old World are divided by numerous great rivers that flow from sources high in the mountains, crossing many thousands of miles before meeting the coast. From the Grey Mountains the rivers Grismere and Brienne cut across fair Bretonia. From the World's Edge Mountains the mighty Talabek, Ster, and Reich rivers flow all the way to the Sea of Claws. In places these rivers are hundreds of yards wide and deep beyond measuring, allowing the passage of great ocean-going vessels far beyond the coast to ports and harbours deep within the interior of the empire. At these vast river docks, cargoes are unloaded from these great ships into bustling quaysides, before being loaded again into barges and wagons to complete their journeys by road or river. In this way, the wealth of the Old World is moved from place to place, the bounty of the fields is delivered to the teeming cities, the product of industry is ferried far and wide, and the armies that defend the realms are transported to distant battlefields under foreign skies. Thus do the nations of men vie with one another for control of these valuable waterways. Yet beyond the coasts of the Old World, and for all the naval might of the nations of men and dwarfs, it is but one race that reigns supreme upon the ocean. From districts within all of the major port cities in all nations of the Old World, and from prosperous colonies with lively harbours on islands off the coast of Bretonia, Estalia, Tilia, Norska, the Empire and Kislev, the elves of Ulthuan guard the ocean currents and protect Ulthuan's interests in the wider world.